Hello, beautiful homemakers. Before I start reading the pamphlet, I wanted to tell you a little bit about an old TV movie that I saw on YouTube. I don't think you're going to want to watch it because it's not that great, but one of the women characters was definitely a fascinating woman. The story starts off with the wife taking her husband to the airport. And you know something bad is going to happen, and it kind of leads you to believe that he's going to die in a plane crash because she's talking about, I hate to see you leave. I worry, what if you don't come back? And in the back of my mind, I was thinking, is this lady an FW? She wasn't nagging. She was sharing about her love for him. And then right before he gets on the plane, instead of kissing her, he kisses her forehead. And both my husband and I were like, what? Why in the world would he kiss her forehead? We thought, that's an odd thing to do, and that's ridiculous. And then I thought, is he going to leave her? Well, she does what a fascinating woman should do who is fighting for her husband. And she grabs him and she draws him in for a long, hot kiss before she puts him on that plane. And then she leaves it in God's hands. And he gets on that plane, sits down, and then reaches over and grabs the hand of a woman half his age. And the viewer just wants to smack him because he had a beautiful wife and 2 children that adored him at home. Well, the story continues, and since he isn't 25 like this woman, he's in his 50s, she wants to party and go out with people and stay out late and eat lots of food, and he's got indigestion, he's tired, he doesn't want to stay out late, and as the weekend progresses, his eyes are kind of opened to what life with this new woman would be like. But when he got on the plane, she said to him, "Did you tell her?" And he said, "No, I couldn't." And she gets upset. "I can't believe you didn't tell her." He says, I'm going to write her a letter. Well, as the weekend progresses and his eyes are opened to what it would be like to live with this woman, and how she would not be a good mother for his children, even though she wanted children of her own. She shows him her love and that she's attracted to him and wants to start a new life with him, but he can see the writing on the wall. And she says, "I bet you never even wrote that letter." And he said, "Yes, I did. In fact, here it is. I just haven't mailed it yet." And he pulls out the letter, and we see he's told his wife everything and that he's leaving and wants to marry this gal. And then he puts it in his suit pocket, but it falls to the floor without him realizing it. Over this weekend, he has had time to really think about what life with this woman half his age would be like. And he realizes that he already has a family. He already has a home. He already has a wife that loves him. And this woman is going to have him starting all over. And then the finances, of course, would be a huge mess. He'd have to be paying alimony and child support and start over with this gal. And so he tells her, "I'm going to go back to her." And she cries and begs him not to and says how much she loves him. But he says, "I'm sorry, I've made a mistake and I'm going to go back to my wife." He leaves the hotel room, and a little while later, after the girl is done crying, she notices the letter on the floor. A man came in bringing room service, and she said, she gets this diabolical thought, and she says, "Can you mail this letter for me?" And the letter is speeding on its way to his wife. The name of this movie is called 3 Letters. There's 3 different scenarios, and we know from the beginning that this movie is about what a difference 1 year can make when a letter that was intended to be delivered within 1 week is delayed for 1 year. The other two storylines I didn't think were that great, so I don't recommend that you watch the movie. But as the postman is coming up to this man's house 1 year later, he answers the door and talks to the postman, and he says, "I've got a letter here for your wife." And he says, "Oh, she's back here. I'll give it to her." And he sees that it's from him, and he realizes it was a letter he wrote 1 year ago. He steps outside and talks to the postman, and he says, "If you deliver this letter to my wife, it's going to ruin our marriage." He said, "I wrote that letter. I'm the sender, but everything has changed. Please don't deliver this letter." Well, by this time, the wife is listening at the door. She has an inkling of what has happened. And the mailman is saying, "Sir, I have to do my job, and I have to do it correctly. She has to sign for this letter." And then she opens the door, and my husband is going, "Oh no, he's going to lose everything. He's going to lose the love of his life. He's going to lose his children." And I said, No, I know what she's going to do with that letter. She's going to throw it in the fireplace." And my husband was like, "No." She greets the mailman. She takes the letter. She looks at it. She looks at the postmark and the sender. She looks at her husband. She walks into the front room. She considers opening it. She gives it more thought. And then she tosses it into the fire. This woman was wise enough to not dredge up the past. She wasn't stupid. She knew what happened. But her husband came home to her. She accepted him. She changed their marriage. And he also changed by stopping being a workaholic and participated in the family. He almost lost it all, and he got it back because she gave him grace and she forgave him, which is very hard to do, and I am not making light of the situation. But she wanted to save her marriage, and so she did. Now, in the last FW video, we talked about what to look for when clothes shopping, and I gave you lots of tips. Now we're going back to the pamphlet, and this section is called How Little Men Know, and they're talking about fabric. The average man hasn't the slightest idea of how expensive your clothes are. You have just as good a chance to make an impression on him in cheap materials as in expensive materials, provided the style, color, and general impression is girlish, not mannish. Few men know the difference between lavender voile and lavender crepe de chine. If two girls were dressed almost exactly alike, except for the texture of the materials, the average man would never notice the difference. Though in one case the outfit was 3 times as expensive as in the other. But if one should let her waist divide, or if she stood stoop-shouldered, or let her skirt hang in dips, or her shoestrings hang, he would notice the difference immediately. To the average man, you simply cannot be dainty and careless, too. And daintiness is the prime essential of femininity. Now, a lot of women have abandoned daintiness. In fact, it's a dirty word to a great many women. Yet, daintiness is what brings out the protective and chivalrous side of a man. Remember many videos ago I told you about the Ferris wheel story? The man that was helping women and children get into the Ferris wheels did nothing but open the door. But with me, he gave me his hand and helped me in. Why? Because I was in a long white skirt. That's why. The daintiness of my dress made all the difference. And I also shared how I went back later on another day, and he didn't help me. Why? Because I was in pants. The chivalrous side of him was not brought out. But when I was wearing that long skirt, not only did he help me into the Ferris wheel car, he helped me out. Now, I'm not talking about Amish clothing or even 1980s dresses. I'm talking about comfortable but stylish dresses. If you have the arms for it, you can wear sleeveless. If not, then buy a little lace or eyelet shrug. Or just stick to dresses with sleeves that look good on you. They can be capped or flowing above the elbows or 3/4 lengths. If you're thin, then accentuate your waist. And if you're not thin, then never belt your waist. Let's continue. Though your apparel need not be expensive, it should be smart, snappy, cute, and stylish. Every novelty, every gaiety, vagary, and impertinence of design adds to its attractiveness. Men themselves are restricted to sober, commonplace apparel. Such attire in women is too suggestive of the mannish. You cannot emphasize your femininity better than by wearing the opposite of the sober, commonplace in clothing. So, jeans is not the opposite of what men wear. This applies to your slippers as well as to your hats, to your kitchen aprons as well as to your cloaks. The humblest garment, made of the humblest materials, can nevertheless be stylish, original, and dainty. Make your voiles by the same patterns that you would make your silks. Give as much thought to the style of your remnant sail gingham as you would to imported linen. You can find beautiful clothes from TJ Maxx or off Saks Fifth Avenue, Bloomingdale's, Outlet Shop, etc. if you shop often enough. But too many of us wait until we have to buy new clothes, and then we end up settling for bad-fitting clothing. Instead, have a list of what you need and what looks best on you. And that is what I talked about in that last video, FW5.6 video, what to look for when shopping. Remember to take a checklist. Your color, the type of fabric you are looking for. Look how to care for the fabric. Notice where the prints land on your body. Look at the seams and the zippers and the buttons. Does it look cheaply made? Remember to look at, why is this outfit at an outlet? Was it made for the outlet? Or is there something wrong with the garment, like bad stitching or a bad zipper? Also notice if the fabric will pill too easily, or does it wrinkle too easily? Wrinkle it. Find out. Does it have a bunch of lint on it? Because if it has lint on it in the store, it's going to gather lint when you sit down on a couch. And especially look, is the clothing too tight or too low cut? Too many women think that it is their skin, their cleavage, or their legs that attract men, but they are wrong. While skin is certainly eye-catching, it is not mind-catching. A quality man does not want his future wife showing everything to everyone. But men who are looking for a one-night stand will love it if you dress that way. Are you looking for a husband or not? Remember that we are hinting at an hourglass figure in silhouette. You are not to reveal your figure on the street. I recently overheard a man say to his buddy, "She thinks I'm admiring her rump," when actually I'm thinking her exhibitionism is revolting. So notice the people around you and on YouTube or on television. What do their clothes and colors suggest to you? Do they look friendly or snobby? Are they wearing the right color, the wrong color? Is their purse too big or even too small? Are they trying too hard? Do they look desperate? Are they showing too much cleavage? Are their clothes too tight? Is their skirt too short, which makes them look desperate? What preconceived ideas about them do you get from what they are wearing? Remember, your clothes say it for you. Now, one day, an acquaintance knocked on my door and asked me for advice because she trusted me. She said that she had always had a yearning to dress femininely, and she was probably in her late 40s at the time. But she said she just didn't have enough confidence to try it. She said that she felt invisible when she would go to work. People ignored her. They didn't even greet her. They didn't consider her at all. So that day I gave her a very simple makeover. She was very fond of the color brown. She wanted to blend in, but that's what made her invisible and unmemorable. So I put her in pink. We went to the thrift store, and she even chose fuchsia for one of her sweaters. I told her to start wearing dangly earrings every day. I told her to buy kitten heels, but she chose high heels instead. And then she started to wear a skirt instead of her normal pants. We added a little bit of blush and a little lipstick. She didn't want to wear eye makeup, but she came back later and said that she was shocked at how people greeted her and treated her the next day. Becoming more feminine made all the difference in her world. And you can do the same. You can ask a woman, a friend, or just someone you admire, whose look you like. Ask her for advice. Ask her for a makeover. Chances are she will love to help you go over your clothes, get new clothes, help you with makeup, help you with hairstyle, and she'll be honored that you asked. Now, originally I ended the video right here, but as the days went on, I realized that for people who are new viewers, I haven't answered how to be mind-catching. As the movie The Letters shows, being eye-catching is simply not enough to sustain a relationship. And the single easiest way to be mind-catching is don't sleep with him. He will get to know you, and then you will both decide if the relationship should move forward. But ever since the pill was invented, without fear of pregnancy, women have let their guard down more than any other era prior to the pill being invented. Women would recognize their physical need to be loved, but then they wouldn't protect their heart and their need to be cherished. So instead, what's happening in our culture today is boy meets girl, He makes her laugh. She begins to think he's cute and a great guy. They talk, blah, 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 blah. She says something like, well, what are you looking for in a relationship? And he answers, oh, I just want to have fun, nothing serious. And she says, oh, yeah, I get that. Me too. But inside her head, she's thinking, I'm going to capture this man's heart. So they go on a date, and she refuses his advances. Then on the second date, she decides, okay, yeah, I'll accept that glass of wine. Because she's like, oh, I need to loosen up. But then with each glass of wine or beer, her common sense and her defenses go down. So he takes her home or to his house, and the next thing you know, she thinks they're a couple. So after a few months, she says to him, so what are we? And he's like, what do you mean? Well, we've been dating for a few months. Where's this relationship going? And he says, well, you're a friend with benefits. And then she gets mad and says, but I told you I was looking for a long-term relationship. And so what's he going to reply? I told you that I wasn't. So then he moves on to the next woman who lets her defenses down by drinking, or who thinks that casual sex is the norm. And then one day a year or so later, you run into him and he's married. And she's in no way prettier than you. She's not blonde. She's even overweight. And you wonder, why would he marry her? And the answer is, she was more than eye-catching. She was mind-catching. In his mind, she had a worthy character because she refused his advances. Because no man wants a SLUT for a wife. And sure, that's a double standard, but it's still the truth. If you want to get married, you have to set extremely high standards for yourself. Don't drink. And when you're out with him, don't shave your legs. Wear granny panties that you wouldn't want him to see you in. Set up defenses for yourself, which the most important defense is to be in control of your body. Don't drink. Have your mind set that you are not going to have a sexual relationship with a man you barely know. In my video, FW5.2 Why He Won't Marry You, I went into great detail about why you shouldn't get physically involved with a man before marriage. Briefly, we women get high levels of oxytocin during and after intercourse, and this binds us to that man. Before that, you may say, oh, it's fine. I don't really like him. I know we're not going to get married. No, don't give yourself away like that. Your body is a gift for your husband. And that oxytocin will bind you to him. Whereas men only get low levels of the oxytocin. We get high levels of it. And instead, afterwards, his testosterone has decreased. And so then it's much easier for him to detach from you. And this is why casual sex is so bad for women mentally. So hold yourself in much higher regard. If you want more details about when men get this high level of oxytocin, then go back and listen to FW5.2. I can't recap the whole thing here. And then you also may want to listen to FW4.8, Why He Didn't Call You Back. Reclaim your God-given natural modesty, and you will become highly attractive to high-quality men. So may God bless you as you discard the cultural craziness and instead actually do what the Bible says to create a peaceful home life and marriage. That's what these pamphlets are about. That's what I'm hoping this channel is about. God bless you as some of you learn a new way. Just like the wife did in that movie, The Letters. Her marriage was on the rocks. She began reading Secrets of Fascinating Womanhood, and she won him back. You can do the same if you're married.